Hey guys, it's Foxdrop here with another patch preview video or patch breakdown video. This is a bit late actually, so I'm sorry about that, but I thought you guys usually enjoy this video, so I'm going to do one for you. I'm going to be talking mostly about the jungle changes this patch, so getting right into it, let's see the first jungle related change. Okay, so Elise. Elise has probably been one of the strongest junglers for a little while now. She's got everything basically. Her kit is so versatile because she has 6 spells, because she has a human form and spider form, so she can do quite well, like I said, she's really versatile, so she's extremely strong in the jungle. And this change is it's a nice change, though it's more I don't think it does too much. It's more like a quality of life change for those playing versus Elise. And basically the biggest change of this, her spiderling's got changed a little bit, but I don't think that's a huge deal. But the big thing is when she repels, when she in the past, when she would repel and then come back down, her spiderlings would come down first. And so if you were tower diving someone and you kill them and then you instantly repel up into the air, you would drop that tower aggro, and then when you come back down again, the spiders would be the first ones to draw tower aggro, so you could never die basically. Basically tower dives were way too easy with Elise because that's what happened, and now the spiders will come down later after Elise, so she can't do that anymore, which I think is a good change. It's a nice idea, just because there are a lot of frustrating things about Elise, and she does like, for example, again, what they've changed here, where you used to be able to jump slightly outside of your circle range, and now if they're outside of your repel range, you won't get them. So again, I think these are nice changes because Elise is way too frustrating to play versus. But if you're an Elise player, you probably will feel these, and it'll grind you a little bit, and you'll probably just get on your nerves. They're not huge nerfs, but they're just tiny things which make Elise not as strong anymore. So moving on from her. Nothing big. Okay, yeah, Master Yi. This is a pretty big one, Master Yi. Now, I'm talk quite a bit about this, and I intend to do that because Master Yi has always been, in my opinion, a good jungler. If you look at my tier list for a little while back, I put Master Yi in tier 1, and a lot of people were like, what, Master Yi tier 1? He's a noob champion, he's not in tier 1. Well, unfortunately, Master Yi has always been very strong in the right hands. If people know how to play him, then they'll play him to great effectiveness. And basically what Master Yi does is he farms, and then becomes pretty strong in the late game. And especially if he gets snowballing early, then he just gets crazy in the mid game. And not a lot of junglers can farm as well as Master Yi can and put out as much damage. So he was always strong, and these changes, I'll just summarize them for you. Basically, he's now stronger. He's slightly different to the extent where APE is dead, pretty much dead, because your Q, your Alpha Strike, now does physical damage and it scales with AD. So there's no real point going APE anymore. Much better for AD Yi, Alpha Strike. And also his passive now does instead of proccing every, I believe it was every 7th hit, it now procs every 4th consecutive basic attack. But if you leave combat, then that count is reset. So it's basically every 4 hits while in combat, you'll do a double swing, but your second swing only does half the damage as your first one, but it still applies on hit effects. Your meditate is not as strong in my opinion. It's kind of got slightly changed, slightly nerfed. But it heals you for a bit. You know, you take less damage rather than just getting a bunch of stats. But so that was a nerf to his meditate, but still the other things which are so much stronger completely make up for it. His Wuju style, so his E, he used to give him a flat amount of AD whenever you would level it up. I believe it started at something like quite crazy, like 15 or something. And now it's a lot less than that, but it's a percentage of your attack damage. So the more attack damage you have, the more Wuju style, the more attack damage this ability will give you passively. And then when you activate it, you do extra true damage. It's scaling true damage, so the more AD you have, the more true damage you do, although the scaling is very minor. Every time you have scaling true damage, things become very scary. Someone like Cho'Gath, who has his ultimate, which does true damage to someone, and that scales with AP, and I believe it's something ludicrous like a 1-to-1 AP scaling. Those things can be really scary. So, and for someone like Master Yi, who does true damage, extra true damage on every hit, this can be pretty crazy. So that's really good. I'm not quite sure really. Basically, he's not as much as a sledgehammer anymore against towers because he doesn't get AD. He does true damage, and you know, true damage won't affect the towers. but it's just a really nice change, and it has no mana cost, which is great. And now your ultimate, basically, it has a passive. You don't have to have the ultimate active, just the passive. Once you've skilled your ulti, whenever you kill someone, all your abilities are reset, basically. So it's just, it's insane. But your ulti cooldown isn't reset. It just extends the duration of it when you get kills and when you get assists. It increases your attack speed, increases your move speed. So it's very similar to the other one. Right, so now that you know what the changes were, what the new Master Yi does, let me tell you what this means. Basically, he now has better, but because his Q does physical damage, that's going to scale a lot better when you build AD on him. And something which I want to point out, probably the best build on Master Yi is attack speed. And the reason why why attack speed is so good on Yi is because of the way it synergizes with all of your abilities. So your E, Wuju style, you get flat AD, so the more attack speed you have, the more you're benefiting, the more you're hitting someone, the more you benefit from this flat AD bonus. But more importantly, your active is an on-hit effect, so every time you hit someone you do extra true damage. So the faster you attack, the more true damage you're doing to someone. So that's the first reason why attack speed is so good. The second reason is because of your passive double strike. Every 4th hit you attack twice, so the more faster you're attacking, the faster you can get that 4th hit off, the more damage you're doing. So that's another reason why attack speed is so good. And finally, your alpha strike, each basic attack reduces the cooldown of your alpha strike. So every time it has something like, well, we can see here it's 18, 17, 16, 15, 14 second cooldown, but every time you hit someone, that cooldown is reduced by 1 second. So in fights, with your ultimate popped as well, because your ulti gives you a bunch of attack speed, your alpha strike cooldown is just really short. And because it is reduced by 1 second every time you basic attack, your double strike counts as an extra basic attack. So whenever you double strike, you get an extra second off your alpha strike's cooldown reduction. So I'm not suggesting you should go out and build like, you know, a 6 recurve bow item build on Master Yi, but I'm just saying that these kind of attack damage builds are very strong on him. So personally, what I recommend, my item build when I play Master Yi, I really like the new Reworked Master Yi. I already really like the old Master Yi. I'm pretty good with him. I did have a commentary planned, but my LoL recorder's not letting me do that, so I might have to think about another way of getting a recording out to you guys. But the build I go 21-9 in Masteries, I go flat AD runes, and I get, for my item build, I start with Longsword, 2 potions, and then I rush a Cutlass into Berserker Grease, into Blade of the Ruined King, and then a static Shiv. So that is a lot of attack speed for your build, and you want to be farming as much as possible. And after that, you can just go, you don't really need too much more attack speed after that, because your ultimate gives you enough enough attack speed steroid on its own. So you don't need a huge amount of attack speed, but that build you destroy people. And also because attack speed works really nicely off of your Shiv, because every time you hit, you are generating the charges which then build up to the passive on it, or the actual proc on your Shiv. And also, your Blade of the Ruined King does percentage health damage, so each time it's like an on-hit item to that extent. So again, attack speed is good for that. So it's just, there's so much nice synergy with attack speed. It really is ludicrous if you have the right build on him, and the damage he can put out is crazy. He doesn't really fit the jungle method too well because he isn't tanky, he's not a bruiser, but he clears very quickly, he can counter jungle extremely quickly, and if you're farming correctly, you can have a lot of impact on the game when you're playing Master Yi. You can carry the game single-handedly when you're playing him. He can split push, he's a complete sledgehammer, not as much as he used to be, but still really good at taking down towers. And even in team fights, as long as you're not getting shut down by hard CC, which is the #1 counter to Master Yi, if you're not getting locked up in all the stuns, you'll be fine. You can like 3-shot the enemy AD carry. It's crazy, it really is, and he's really good. So I definitely recommend picking him up. He'll face roll at lower elos, and he's still really good at higher elos as well. Like I went something like 10 for roll in Diamond 1 or something, so he just stomps everyone if you're good enough with him. I want to talk a little bit about Thresh, because I like playing Thresh as a jungler. He's one of my favourite like non-jungle picks, if that makes sense. So, and they changed him slightly this patch, and it's slightly nerfed jungle Thresh. Whenever they balance Thresh, they don't do it with jungling in mind, and that's actually worked in Thresh's favour in the past when they moved Thresh's auto attack damage, the extra damage you do, you know, like you generate additional damage. That used to be on his Q, and they moved it over to his E. So now when you're jungling, you can max your E, and you actually clear pretty quickly, and have quite a lot of damage in ganks too. But this is just, unfortunately, has kind of nerfed him slightly. So he basically, later on, Thresh can get more armor and ability power, but early on he gets less. They've reduced the diminishing returns, but made it so that you actually get less with each soul. So unfortunately, early on you don't get as much armor and AP, but later on you get more. And they've also just like reduced his base stats by, to be honest, this is quite a lot. Like if it's now 12 instead of 18, so if you increase this by 50%, you would get what he used to have. So that's pretty insane, to be honest. But these are all justified nerfs. So I'm not gonna cry about, oh no, jungle Thresh, my jungle Thresh, good night, sweet prince. Oh my goodness, that actually kind of works. But it's I'm not gonna cry about that because, you know, support Thresh is just ludicrous. So anywho, let's see some bug fixes and just some. This, I just want to mention here, this pick a card thing is actually really nice for Twisted Fate, as in he's not as stupid anymore, because you actually, if you instantly lock a card and then port somewhere, you can just have that card above your head for like 10 seconds, and or you used to be able to have it above your head for like 10 seconds, and then you just zone someone out, or you just chase them down, whereas now you only have 4 seconds to throw it at max. So Zac just got a bit of damage nerf because Zac was too strong, basically. His E, considering all the utility it gave him, was also doing too much damage too. So justified change for Zac, but he's still good. Not too much to say there. Now these item changes are, I did a video on this with Shakarez from he works with Curse, but it was for the Cloth 5 YouTube, and I just basically, well, there's a video on these item changes which I would suggest you should watch, because it's pretty informative as far as what the changes are and what they mean and the maths behind the changes. And I did a segment basically explaining what this change, the Runic Bulwark and Lock at the Iron Solari, what that change specifically means for junglers. So I'll link that video in the description, so you can check that out as well if you want to do that. Like I said, I suggest you do that because you'll find it very informative. But so I won't talk about that in this video, because you can go watch that other one. All these other changes, these small item changes, Warden's Mail and Random's get nerfed, which sucks for junglers, but I don't know, it's not a huge deal. And okay, so the jungle changes, these are really minor. Well, they kind of are minor anyway. So the spawn timers is like, means nothing. Like this, the spawn time is, as far as jungling is concerned, just doesn't mean anything. Like junglers don't give a shit about this. Junglers just start at the buffs anyway, and so by the time it gets to 205, everything's like, they probably haven't even finished their buff by the time it gets to 205. So I don't care if things aren't up. And if you did start your buff and you finished it before 205, the only reason why you would have finished it beforehand is if you got a really good smartness leash. And if you did that, you're not going to then go and do the mini camps anyway, or at least you wouldn't be sitting around at like 2 minutes 2 seconds like, no, why aren't my wolves up? Why did you nerf the wolf spawn time? Because if you did get that smartness leash, you'd be off doing your red buff and getting a really quick level 3. So it means nothing as far as that goes. But what I do like about this is the experience change. How they've made it less, they've given less experience to the actual buff. So the big blue golem, and the red lizard, the big lizard. Less experience granted by those, and more into the mini creeps in that camp, so the little lizards in the camps. The reason I like that is because, to be honest, the patch 3.8 changes, I believe it was 3.8 change anyway, where they changed the whole jungle. Maybe it was 3.7, I don't quite remember. But those changes were kind of dumb. They were too much, as in you lost a buff and your jungle was screwed. You're behind in the jungle way too much, because the buff just gave you too much experience. So if you lost that buff and you lost all that experience, then you were in a really bad place, and it was actually really hard to come back from that. So the fact that they've shifted the XP from the buff itself over to the mini creeps is good, because it means that if you're stealing a buff, you can't just walk up, take the buff, and then bugger off again. Well, you can do that, and that's still good, and it's still screw over a jungler, but at least a jungler now is punished less for that, because really, you shouldn't really be punished for something that is really easy to execute and that has pretty low counterplay. Like for example with Nunu, who will just consume smite and walk away, but I suppose Nunu's a completely unique example, so I probably shouldn't use that. But it was just, yeah, so the mini creeps will now give you more experience, so that if you do get your buff stolen, it's not the complete end of the world. Although, having said that, it's not exactly a lot of experience that you're getting from it. You get like 80 more experience than you used to get, but I suppose, you know, every little helps, and that's not too bad, to be honest. So I think that's all there is really to talk about. They changed the turrets now, so it's harder to push down turrets early, so you can't just do that whole quick push strategy. But really, this is only going to be prevalent in the pro scene. In solo queue, people don't really do these things, these 2v1 lanes and these hard push, quick push strategies, so you don't need to worry about that. That's partially why some junglers are more viable in solo queue than they are in pro games, in the LCS, because in solo queue it's not just because of teamwork. Like, you don't have, it's not that you just have less teamwork. Obviously pro games have more teamwork. That's not the only issue. The issue is also things, little mechanics which don't show up in solo queue, which do show up in pro games, such as defending towers as a jungler, your wave clear as a jungler. If you're getting hard pushed and you need to basically 2v2 lane because your top laner is versus an AD and support and they're pushing down the tower, if you're playing someone like, I don't know, let's say Trundle, who has no wave clear, then that tower is going to go down instantly. But if you're playing someone like Maokai, who can EQ the caster wave and instantly kill it, then they're better. So yeah, that was just, I don't know why I said that's kind of not important, but yeah, so like I say, this won't affect you too much, and everything else is just not, yeah, okay, anything else is just minor stuff. So there you go, there's my patch rundown video. Thank you for watching, guys. It's kind of long, so I apologize about that. I have to say that quite a lot. I'm just kidding, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm sorry it's a bit late. But thanks for watching, guys. Thank you very much, chaps. You can check me out on my Facebook and my Twitter as well if you want to do that. If you want to follow me on my social medias. You can also follow me on Twitch when you want to catch me streaming. I do want to get some more streams out there. I've also want to do a bit more other projects. Like, I've kind of been slacking a bit on the videos, but I've found a bit of motivation again to get some good videos out to you guys, like good guides. You know, and some other stuff, like some written stuff. For example, I've been updating some guides on the LOL Pro website, so there'll be other guides which will have my personal touch to them, and like updated item builds and stuff like that. So you can check those out as well. And every time I do things like this, I'll put them on my social media. So it's probably a good idea, if you're interested in those things, to follow me on my Facebook and stuff like that. So thank you very much for watching once again, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in my next video.